Forget everything you've seen in movies. These restored photographs expose the dark, unspoken reality of Old West saloons that historians tried to hide. This first image wasn't supposed to exist. What you are looking at is the raw, untouched interior of a saloon in 1880, a place that Hollywood romanticized, but reality froze into a scene of pure despair. The air was thick with smoke, filth, and the stench of cheap whiskey. Look closely at the faces in the background. The women who inhabited these places carried brutal marks that history books erased. This recovered photograph exposes the thin line between survival and total decay on the American frontier. They weren't glamorous. They were prisoners of a violent system, trapped in windowless rooms. In these shadows, dark secrets were buried, and many who entered never walked out alive. But the darkest secrets of the Old West saloons were often hidden right under their feet. This photograph exposes an unknown labyrinth beneath the dusty wooden floorboards, a system of secret tunnels, hidden storage, and dark alleys where the real action happened. Look at the texture of the old stone walls in this restored image. These tunnels weren't for the general public. They were used to move illegal liquor during Prohibition, transport high-stakes gamblers, and for the clandestine movement of the women of the night between buildings. It's rumored that many patrons who won too much at the card tables were lured down into these depths and never came out. Their bodies supposedly dumped in hidden wells that still exist, sealed beneath the modern-day towns of the American West. This photo is a chilling reminder of the cold, unspoken truths that these foundations still keep hidden. In the lawless West, saloons were more than just drinking dens. They were volatile traps where high-stakes gambling often ended in violence. This photograph exposes a clandestine card game that looks normal, but the tension in the room is high. A winning hand could be a death sentence. It's rumored that the dealers were part of a hidden crime ring, and some saloons had secret mechanisms under the poker tables, connected by wires and pulleys. A slight pull on a cord below would nudge a card, ensuring the house always won. Look at the faces of these lost gamblers. Their despair was manufactured. Many unsuspecting patrons were cheated and then lured into the labyrinthine tunnels below, never to be seen again. Their disappearance recorded as a missing persons case that the local sheriff, often corrupt, would quickly close. This recovered photo is a chilling reminder of the cold, unspoken truths that these saloons still keep hidden. The women who operated in the shadows of these saloons were far from the glamorous figures portrayed in Hollywood films. Figures like Big Nose Kate and countless unnamed women lived a harsh, brutal existence. This restored photograph catches a rare glimpse inside their private, windowless quarters behind the bar. The damp wood, the smell of stale medicine, and the constant threat of violence made life expectancy in these places incredibly short. Many of these women were running from a dark past, changing their names to disappear completely on the frontier. When they died from disease or frontier violence, their deaths were rarely recorded in the town's ledger. They simply vanished from history, their stories buried in unmarked graves outside the town borders. This image is a haunting window into the heavy price paid for survival in a lawless world. In the 1880s, when a shootout occurred or an infection took hold, the saloon table quickly transformed into an operating table. With no hospitals for hundreds of miles, the local bartender or a traveling undertaker acted as the surgeon. This photograph captures the terrifying reality of frontier medicine. Whiskey was the only anesthesia available, used to numb the excruciating pain before a limb was brutally amputated with a common wood saw. The tools were unsterilized and the survival rate was low. Those who didn't survive the infection were carried out the back door before the next round of card games began. This chilling record exposes the raw, unpolished truth of how fragile life really was on the American frontier. In the lawless frontier, the badge didn't always mean justice. This restored photograph catches a rare look at a local sheriff who was secretly running the very saloon crime rings he was supposed to stop. Look at the cold, unpolished glare of the authority figures in these images. In many towns, the law was bought and paid for by the saloon owners. If a gambler vanished or a woman was harmed, the sheriff would ensure the case file was permanently buried. They ruled these wooden towns with fear, using their power to pocket a percentage of every illegal card game and stolen bottle. This grainy record exposes the terrifying reality that on the American frontier, the line between the law and the criminal was completely invisible. Think the Old West was just about dusty roads and clean whiskey? The reality inside an 1880s saloon was a biological nightmare that could kill you faster than a bullet. These places were breeding grounds for deadly diseases, and the stench inside was unbearable. The wooden floors were rarely washed, covered in layers of mud, spilled alcohol, and human fluids from sick patrons. There was no running water, and the glasses were simply dipped into a single bucket of dirty, stagnant water behind the bar all night long. If the person before you had tuberculosis or cholera, you were guaranteed to catch it with your next drink. Look at the unpolished, filthy environment in these recovered archives. Rats and insects infested the dark corners where expensive card games took place. Outbreaks of deadly fever started inside these very walls, spreading rapidly from town to town because frontier doctors had no real medicine to stop them. Unsuspecting travelers would enter looking for a place to rest, only to leave infected with a slow, painful death sentence. The local undertaker was often the busiest man in town, waiting just outside the back door for the saloon's next victim. This dark record forces us to see that the true terror of the frontier wasn't the outlaws, it was the invisible filth that filled every single glass. In the dark corners of the frontier, violence didn't always come from a bullet. This restored photograph exposes the hidden, quiet deaths that occurred in the back rooms of the most dangerous saloons. Look at the dim, unpolished setting of these private quarters. Wealthy travelers, cattle barons, and successful gamblers were often targeted by deceptive saloon rings. A heavy dose of a primitive poison or toxic moonshine was slipped into their glasses when they weren't looking. Within minutes, the victim was paralyzed or dead. Their gold and cash were stripped, and their bodies were carried out through hidden trapdoors in the dead of night. This grainy record is a bone-chilling window into a world where a simple drink could steal your life, and the truth was buried forever in the desert sand. If you stepped outside the saloon doors to catch some fresh air, you were met with a chaotic reality that was just as dangerous as the violence inside. The frontier streets were a lawless wasteland of deep mud, animal waste, and pure filth. Dozens of horses were tied to wooden posts outside the bar for hours, leaving massive piles of waste baking under the hot sun. There was no sewage system, so everything ran directly into the dirt roads, creating a toxic slough that reached a man's knees. A single scratch on your boot from this contaminated mud could cause an infection that would take your leg within days. Look at the bleak, ruined environment captured in these final images. Drunken fights routinely spilled out from the bar directly into this black mire, where men choked on the filth while others watched in indifference. The stench was so overwhelming that it drove patrons right back inside to drink more toxic liquor, trapping them in a deadly cycle. This was the true, unpolished cost of the American frontier, a world built on lawlessness, disease, and survival. If you want to uncover more dark, forbidden history that books tried to erase, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and drop a comment below telling me which of these files shocked you the most. Your support is what keeps these hidden archives alive. But the horrors of the past don't end in the Old West. What the police discovered decades later in locked government vaults is even more terrifying. Click on the video on your screen right now to explore the 10 disturbing criminal files that science still cannot explain. Don't blink.